Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Happy Bringling. Welcome to Bringle Talks, and we have our eminent guest today, Dr. Arjun Vaidya. I think it's not doctor, he's been reminding me on that. Arjun Vaidya, who is an ex-CEO of Dr. Vaidya's Ayurvedic e-commerce platform, and now he has started his own venture capital journey. And I would like to know more about him, about his journey today. And this is going to be really beneficial for all the entrepreneurs who are looking to, transform their ideas to a billion-dollar recurring income business model. And thank you so much, Arjun, for accepting my invite to share your personal experiences and journey with all the entrepreneurs across the globe.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for having me. Uh, I hope that a lot of people can gain value from this and learn and implement these learnings. So, yeah, I'm happy to help and I'm happy to sort of give back to the ecosystem.
Thank you so much for that openness, Arjun. So, Arjun, I think we have been doing these interviews in a couple of other times as well, and I know very much about you. But I would want to know, from you today about a little bit about your introduction and how your journey actually started off. When it started, kicked off in your mind that you have to become an entrepreneur, and how early it was.
Yeah, look, so I'll tell you about my background, and my background actually has a lot to do with why I ended up doing what I was doing. Right? So, my
Mhm.
name is Arjun Vaidya, and Vaidya, my last name is Ayurvedic doctor. 150 years of my family. My grandfather, great grandfather, and generations before were Ayurvedic doctors. The legacy of our business and our startup was not a business. My dada ran a clinic which he inherited from his father, and graduated from medical school, took on the practice. He became probably India's most successful Ayurvedic doctor, seeing 300 to 350 patients a day in the 80s and 90s. He saw 12,000 patients on a monthly basis via post, which was the
Mhm.
e-commerce of that time. But he didn't care for sales, distribution, marketing, or strategy.
Mhm.
He was in service. He offered a free consultation to all of his patients, and that's how he wanted to live his life. And my father wanted to create a brand out of my grandfather's legacy, but doctors and businessmen don't see eye to eye. And so eventually, my dad started his own business in the jewelry and watch space. I was born with juvenile bronchitis. I suffered from asthma at age 2. I grew up with pumps, nebulizers, inhalers, steroids. And asthma didn't allow me to have a normal life as well. So I started playing cricket at age 5, like most kids. When I
Mhm.
age 7, my grandmother moved me off the cricket field because there was too much dust on the cricket field. So I was the only kid playing golf and squash. I didn't have cold drinks. Today, kids don't have Coca-Cola, Fanta, Limca, Sprite. When I was growing up, we did. I didn't have that. I don't try ice cream till I was
Oh.
12 because it would jack my throat. So Ayurveda sort of asthma prevented me from doing a lot of things. My grandfather took on the sort of mantle to help me get rid of this, and 14 years of Ayurvedic treatment later, I was cured of asthma.
Hmm.
I can proudly say I've not used a pump since I was about 14, 15 years old now, and I turned 30 last month, so it's been a while. Um, and Ayurveda allowed me to do this. So it started becoming more than just family legacy. It became something that impacted my life. Spent a lot of time with my grandfather growing up. I transcribed the family formulations from scriptures to computer. And I think from this experience sort of got closer to the science. I went when I was 17 and a half for my undergrad to the US. I went to Brown University. I studied economics and international relations there, but my experiences outside the classroom actually taught me a lot. So I saw a move towards natural organic products, and I saw yoga being repackaged, right? Yoga mats, yoga gyms, yoga apparel, Lululemon, and this like multi-billion-dollar industry in the US, and thought to myself, this is Indian, but they've taken it from us and sort of repackaged it for the world. We have to take Ayurveda to the world. So came back to 2013 with this thought process. Worked in private equity at a fund called L Capital, now called L Carrington, consumer sector focused fund. And I saw three big changes happen. I saw first, Indian consumers happy to consume quintessentially Indian brands. The obsession with imported products had gone away. I saw
Mhm.
e-commerce happening, and I got to work in the early stage of e-commerce. I saw companies like Myntra, Jabong, Pepperfry, Zivame, Moonstone, all of them sort of starting, Amazon, Flipkart, in the early days of that journey in 2014, 15. And Ayurveda was undergoing a renaissance, right? We had this sort of huge consumer interest, government change, Ministry of Ayush was created, and all of these consumers got excited about Ayurveda. So in all of this background, actually, this was the macro behind Dr. Vijay. The micro was my grandfather passed. And at some point, I made him a promise that I'll take forward his legacy. And after he passed, I said, I have to do it. So, naive as I was, 24 and a half years old, quit my job and took on the legacy. And that's what led to Dr. Vijay.
So you did job as well earlier, and then you shifted to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I worked for 3 years in private equity and then started.
Okay. Let's. Yeah. Okay. So that's something amazing. So you know what? So I heard your story about how you overcame your asthma problem, and how did you started your job and then started the venture of Dr. Vaidya. Now, when you started that venture, was that business already running, or you had to literally start it from the scratch for the business which you have really eventually sold?
Yeah, it was pretty much zero. Because my grandfather had passed, he was a doctor, he ran a clinic. So
Mhm.
after he passed, the clinic was running as a dispensary. His patients who had his
Okay.
prescriptions will come and get the medicine. Yeah, so pretty much we started the brand from zero. Dr. Vaidya was my dada's name, no brand, no logo, no packaging, nothing. And we took the approach of creating a D2C Ayurveda brand that makes the science appealing and accessible to modern consumers. It wasn't a clinic anymore, it was a products brand. So from that perspective, we started basically from zero.
So you basically started a business with from scratch, from zero revenues or zero, there was no brand at all. So how did you started working on the logos, the branding aspect? What was your first step getting into the market and trying to get some initial customers or validation for your products?
So I think usually for me, the first step usually for most brands is product, and I have products ready for my grandfather. So the second step is brand, right? And the brand has to become a personal. So I went to what does our brand stand for? What are the qualities of the brand? What's the personality of the brand? How should the brand speak? And create a brand manual, which then translates into a logo, it translates into packaging, translates into a visual guideline. And I think a lot of people consider branding as a logo, but branding is much more than that. Dr. Vijay stood for three things. It stood for proudly Indian, 150 years of legacy, and new age Ayurveda. And anytime you see Dr. Vijay's communication, you will see these three things, right? So going through the motions of developing this brand manual, brand guide, and personality of the brand, like the brand is a person. That was the first step to creating sort of what the brand was. When it went to customers, actually, we had a big failure with offline. So 2016 end is when we started. B2C was still very new, didn't exist. And so we went offline first. And sort of going offline first, uh, we were we were in the impression that we would get sales really fast. And we did get sales. We got 10 lakh rupees worth of sales as primary sales, right? Distributors bought from us after a big launch and then we had large lands. But I didn't realize the difference between primary and tertiary sales, right? So I built a distributor. Only if distributors build to retailers and retailers build to customers and customers pay, do I get paid. So 3 months later, I got 9 lakhs worth of the 10 lakhs of good. And I realized that I didn't know offline. There was too much competition. And pretty much we had no right to win offline. That's when we pivoted on. In late 2017, we launched drvaidya's.com. We launched another, we started with products, eventually we launched our website with 29 products. And that was the journey then of Dr. Vaidya's D2C.
Okay, so when you started off, you said you started with the primary sales of selling it to the distributors, and you have made actually practically 10 lakh rupees worth of sales. So was it a cash deal or it was a kind of a deal on credit?
So it's a credit deal, right? Like most distribution in India happens on credit.
Okay, and they actually sold 10 lakh rupees worth of
They will-
products, or it was
I
just
got
that
9
you have
lakhs.
given it to them?
I got 9 lakhs worth of returns. That's when we realized we have to commit from.
Oh. Okay, so basically, see, this is one of the bigger issues which probably many of the B2B customers or the people who are selling it through the distributors who are facing. So what do you typically recommend to anybody who is trying to bring their products into the B2C market right now? What they should do? I mean, they should go directly with the direct to the consumers, or should they go with the these distributors and retailers and other segments part of it, or they should do a mix of both? So what is your general advice or suggestive thoughts towards the new entrepreneurs or business owners who are trying to venture into the e-com, I mean the commerce, e-commerce or commercial market?
Look, Anshu, I think you know me, and you know what I think about it. So I'm really bullish on digital space because that's been my experience. I won't say offline is bad. It's just not my area of expertise. I'm a big proponent of D2C. I've seen what's happened with Dr. Areas and tons of other brands. I'm an active investor in this space. For me, D2C is a very exciting space, not just because it like gets you direct to consumers, but because the market has matured. Um, COVID has changed consumption, and today bulk of India, or a bulk of modern urban India at least, is happy and open to consuming online and buying directly from brand websites. So that's a change I saw in 2020. So there's a big opportunity in D2C. Look, I'm not saying offline is a bad opportunity. I'm just saying there is a big opportunity.
Okay. And what do you kind of suggest for somebody who's just starting up on an online space? What is the first three things or three steps they should do to ensure that they start getting some traction from their customers in terms of buying their products?
Yeah, look, I think you got to do the basics right. You got to create your brand. You got to build your brand directly, whether it's through website or third-party channels. And then you got to really understand how to make a good customer, right? Like the customer has to be happy to consume because a D2C business is built on repeats. So if you do a one-time transaction to the customer, there's no value of creating. Lifetime value of the customer is created only if they have a good experience. And so I would say the third and most important thing is build a high-quality customer experience, whether it's website conversion, experience after the order is placed, delivery, fulfillment, retention, second order, all of those things should flow as a great customer experience.
Okay. So basically, what you are saying is that there are three things that they should do. One is they should create an immediate brand of their product. I mean, what maybe the logo or the company formation, whatever they want to do. The second thing, they should have a website which is basically at least they're able to showcase their products on that. And third is you're saying the connect with the customer feedback part of it, whether they're liking the product or not. So, typically when somebody starts this kind of a scenario, what do you think will be a typical estimate of a cost, to set up these platforms, set up these logos, create these logos, set up a website, and probably have a, a definitive, customer feedback platform onto the online space.
I can say it's not very expensive today, but how much you spend on branding is totally up to you. How much you spend on your website is totally up to you.
Okay.
But
And is there any kind of a specific technology which you have adopted in your platform, Dr. Vaidya's platform, which is little different from the normal WordPress sites or maybe normal other sites which are available, which you have created a very niche for yourself from a technology point of view?
look, I think my recommendation for early stage e-commerce brand would use a plug and play tool like Shopify or e-commerce because that's the best way to start.
Mhm. Okay. So, okay. Now tell me something. So this is about your Dr. Vaidya's. Now, what's happening to the Dr. Vaidya's business right now? I know that you have sold it to the Goenka's group. So could you share something about that journey? How did that happen? And why? What is that value which Goenka's looked at it and bought over the entire venture?
So look, I think they were our investors, they were our CTP investors. They were really bullish about Ayurveda. That's what we were
Mhm.
a good run. We ramped up the business significantly, got it from 0 to 5,000 orders. Uh, I think there's a huge opportunity with Ayurveda, just given what happened with COVID. Um, a lot of new customers have come to Ayurveda to try for immunity and are willing to listen. And I think the long-term future of Ayurveda is both in India and global. Ayurveda should be really a global phenomenon. That's the potential that everybody sees. So yeah, Dr. Vedas was acquired completely in March of 2021 by RP Sanjeev company, but it runs as it did run when I was at the helm as well. It's just that I'm not running the business anymore, but the brand is still alive and kicking and doing very well.
Okay. So when somebody buys over your venture, and of course, it was your family's brand. So what was that one reason because of which you thought that you should exit that business at some point in time? and go into something else? So is it that you want to do something different, or is it that you found the value to be more good what has been offered to you?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think this is like the 300th time I've been asked this question. Why did I exit? The answer is the same. Exit is a very personal decision. Um, we thought the value was fair for what we had done. And so we took that. Lot other considerations where we are in life, what we want to do forward, uh, what we're getting as value for the business, what the future of the business is in the right hands. And I think for us, both my wife and I, it just seemed like the right thing to do at that particular time. But I've heard a lot of people say they would have not, and a lot of people say they would have. So I think that's a personal decision. And I think we chose our destiny, and uh, that's what happened in our case. But I think for an exit in general, for a founder, uh, you have to rationalize a lot of things and take a very personal and uh, individual call.
Right, right. So what so anything, Arjun, I think this definitely is going to be a personal call for every founder, whether they want to continue with their brand or a company, or they would want to get exited from there. Probably they've built up a company, they have exited, they've made some money, and they will want to go to the next level or maybe set up something else. Now, what is one thing, Arjun, which normally is very personal to you? And this is going to be a little fun question which I'm going to ask at this point in time. So, what is that, Arjun, which nobody knows about it, which is very personal to you and you're pretty emotional about it? Or probably you feel that, this is what one thing I've done very good and this is what one thing I've not done very good.
Look, I think I'm very patriotic, right? Like I went band with the Indian flag on my hand and all that. From the perspective of building doctor areas, I think we are doing something for India to sort of push forward Ayurveda and take it forward and take it to the world. So I think from that perspective, the patriot in me is quite happy with what we've done with Ayurveda and with doctor areas and sort of make it appealing to modern consumers. What's one thing I don't do well? I don't take time off very well. I'm in the UK right now, but I'm still doing this and I'm still working India hours. I wake up at 7:30 and I wrap up my day at 4:30. So I don't take off time very well.
So you are a workaholic, on that, and you still, I think, you said you are patriotic. So now when you sold your Ayurveda brand which you wanted to promote, now one question before I move to the next question: do you still own any equity or some advisor equity in Dr. Vaidya's brand, or it is 100% exit you have taken it from him?
100%.
100%. Okay. No. Okay. Great. So now the second question is, now you said you are very patriotic and you are still working, even right now you are in UK. So what do you think that you would like to do the next for India after working on Ayurveda or the brand? What is the next thing which you are working at this point in time?
Yeah, look, I think when we exited, both Trisha and I said, look, we've been fortunate to have a good run, a good journey, and our goal now is to give back to the next generation of founders. We spend a lot of time giving back to teach a course on D2C. We're pretty active on the angel side, and I also run now the venture business called Goal Invest in India. So I think my goal now is, look, there are hundreds of good entrepreneurs there, and can I be an enabler to that ecosystem and help the next generation of at least consumer founders? That's what keeps me excited now.
Okay, so you say that you are now getting into the investment side of it, typically the venture capitalist side of it, and would like to invest in the D2C brand, the direct to consumers brand. Okay, now for the benefit of our users, some of the people may not know what is direct to consumer. So if you could just give a little more, explanation on what is D2C, what is your interest with respect to investment, and what kind of businesses you would be interested to invest, and if they would want to reach out to you, how they can reach out to you.
Oh, yeah. So, look, I think D2C is, as the name suggests, direct to consumer. And so it largely uses the power of online to remove the middleman from the consumption ecosystem. So it goes from brand directly to consumer. That's the idea behind D2C. I'm very excited about consumer brands, consumer internet, enablers to e-commerce, in e-commerce or new commerce platforms. That's the bulk of where we sort of invest, consumer-facing B2C businesses or B2B businesses that enable the consumer ecosystem. And yeah, I'm always happy to chat with founders. And easiest available on LinkedIn. So just try to be on LinkedIn and we can connect.
Okay, so that's where you are easily available, and generally I have seen that when the founders get successful, I mean the people like you, they get really busy. Now, how do you manage your personal time, especially with respect to the LinkedIn? And I see that a lot of activities you are doing, and you are also running a podcast channel. So can you throw some light on the same as well?
I'm not a good time manager. Everyone says I'm not a good time manager. So I'm not the best one to do it. I just like to do what I like to do and I take out time for it. But I don't think I'm the most efficient with my time.
Okay, great. And would you like to share something about your podcast channel which you have started, and what is that you are focusing on to that?
Yeah, so I run a podcast called Direct to a Billion Consumers. The
Mhm.
podcast that unravels or tries to unravel the consumer brand ecosystem and building sort of brands in India. I've had sort of 18 episodes released now, and I release one every week or one every other week. We've had some amazing founders, founder of Mama, Alag, a founder of Mom's Squad, Mohit Sadani, Soul Store founder, EP Awal founder, uh, Deepak Saladpuri, who's one of the most prominent VCs in consumer, Viva founder, Licious founder. A lot of great episodes, and the idea behind the podcast was actually when I started my consumer brand, there was no one place I went to for information and learning. And I want this podcast to be that. So if you're ever looking to start a consumer business, you can come listen, learn from the best, and then figure out how to navigate this labyrinth of consumer.
Wow. So apart from investment, you're also supporting entrepreneurs if they're starting to, they're planning to start a new consumer business, what they can do right from the scratch, right from an idea stage, and taking it to a preferable, or maybe, at some point in time, you may want to exit it out from that business. So you have got that entire experience, and that's what you're bringing out in this podcast channel. Am I right, Arjun?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very great. Great. So there are some more personal questions out here. So, quick rapid fire kind of questions. So the one is, what would you want to tell it to an Arjun Vaidya if you become to 18-year-old Arjun Vaidya, if you get a chance to go back and change your course of action, what would you like to say to Arjun Vaidya?
Get ready for a roller coaster.
Okay, that's something very amazing. Okay, now second question. Who are those three people, dead or alive, you would like to have a dinner date, or you would like to have a dinner with them? And why would you select those three people?
Yeah, I think, look, my granddad, uh, he unfortunately passed, but yeah, I would like to just talk to him about what I did over the last 4 years with his legacy. And yeah, I mean, I've never had a chance to, um, I've never had a chance to tell him I'll take it forward. So that would be really nice. I'm a huge Sachin fan, actually.
Okay,
I met him a few
okay,
times. Sachin fan. I think he did in the 90s what entrepreneurs do. Uh, um, a very lonely journey of having the expectations of hundreds of thousands, even millions of people and delivering every day. So I think Sachin would be number two. I'm a big Jeff Bezos fan, just being from e-commerce, just seeing what he's done with Amazon, seeing the amazing customer experience they've built. So yeah, that would be the three people I would choose.
lovely, lovely, great. And as one last question, what is the message, one-liner message you would like to give it to the entire audience, or to the founders or the business owners who are looking to venture out or already running a consumer's business?
The best thing to do is start. I speak to a lot of young founders who are trying to do entrepreneurship part time and then see if it scales up and then doing it full time. And also, our generation philosophizes and overthinks a lot. So my advice is the best thing to do is start until you start to watch it.
Okay, thank you so much. So Arjun, I think your VC journey has just started off. When you started your journey, 4 years back, what do you think? Did you have some angel investors with you, or you had your own money which you have invested, especially when you just started off?
My family seems to I didn't have any agents, but I think it can add a lot of value to businesses.
Okay, so your family invested into your business, but for the founders who may not have their family businesses or family money with them, what do you recommend to them that how they can raise funds, especially at a seed fund level?
Go build some traction and find a good set of angels to back you with the ideas which is you.
Okay, great. And any one message for them to build their brand on social media, especially the personal brand I'm referring to?
Consistency. That's my message. Be consistent.
Okay, be consistent. Thank you so much, Arjun. And I know that you have asked me to keep it pretty short, so I am just leaving it here. And thank you so much for your time for recording this interview. I would be, if you have a couple of more minutes, then I will probably ask a few more questions. Otherwise, we'll just end this interview right now here.
I have to run for my next call, but it's been a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem, Arjun. I think I've got most of my questions answered. And I will definitely share this recording across with you. We'll be uploading this on YouTube and podcast channels of ours. This will be a free publication. We'll share the downloaded versions to you as well. You can also upload it on your channels if you like.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arjun. Looking forward to meet you in again. Once you're back in India in Bombay, let me know. We will definitely meet in person. It's been a long time.
Bye.
Wish you very, very all the best for your journey.